On Global TV News Prime, federal government to ban Naira from crypto trading platforms. Police deploy state motorcycles and personnel to rural communities. Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited cautions against panic buying. And in sports, Chelsea's chances boosted after Manchester United horror at the Palace. Hello and welcome to all of viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Prime here on Global Television. We're live in the nation's capital, Abuja. I'm Edikan Michael. As part of activities to mark the National Nurses Week, the Abuja chapter of National Association of Nurses and Midwives has submitted a letter of complaint against the closure of nursing verification portal by the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria. Our correspondent Samuel Odi has the details.
The nurses who marched from the Federal Secretariat to the House of Representatives complained that the verification portal has been shut down since November 2023 by the Council. They called on the House of Representatives to come to the aid of nurses and appealed to the Nursing and Midwife Council of Nigeria to reopen the verification portal without conditions.
The portal was closed down in November. And we were waiting for a reopening, maybe with a better verification rules. But when they reopened, they came up with a verification guideline that does not go well with any nurse. That a nurse will have to study, train, or practice 2 years after education before you can qualify to be verified. Then that the verification that is supposed to take maximum 24 hours is going to take 6 months to a year. Okay? Then another thing, we will need to get a letter of good standing. I keep saying it. A letter of good standing is for job referencing. For crying out loud, they licensed us. The people that are asking for verification are not asking for if this person is working well.
We want good working environment for nurses. Nurses should not be relegated. They should be able to do whatever they want to do. They should not cage us. We are human beings. We have our fundamental human rights. So that is why we are here today to tell them that we don't want to be suffering in silence and keep on working. We are not comfortable. The country is no longer comfortable for us.
That nurses are the backbone of the healthcare system, and the backbone of the healthcare system should be properly taken care of. A king should be treated as a king, not as a slave. Our salary is nothing to write home about, so we need increment in our salaries as well. And then the verification rules should be reversed. It should be reversed with immediate effect. And
the Chairman Health Committee, Honorable Amos Magaji, assured the nurses that he will invite the members of the Nursing and Midwife Council of Nigeria for a meeting and their complaint will be addressed.
Many of the nurses that are in locum right now will be absorbed into permanent employment. But there is a process. So you guys need to exercise patience and see that that is done. And I'm assuring you, I've sat with the Minister of Health and he's doing wonderfully well in issues regarding health of Nigerians. And then the various committee of health in National Assembly and of course the Senate, every registered nurse and medical professional is gainfully employed in Nigeria.
Samuel Odi reporting for Global Television.
Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals, Adejoke Orelekwe, has called for considerable attention to the welfare and development of senior citizens across the country. He made the appeal during a strategic partnership meeting with a delegation from the National Senior Citizens Center led by the Director General MM Omokara. The call for greater attention to senior citizens comes amid growing concerns over issues such as access to health care, social inclusion and economic support for the elderly, which has been excavated by various socio-economic factors. The Chief Whip of the Senate, Ali Ndume, has raised concerns over alleged inadequacies duties in the renovated senior at the Senate chamber. Senator Ndume, who raised the issue through the 42 of the Senate standing rules, said what was supposed to be a chamber has been turned into a conference hall, which according to him is not acceptable. Kikolimo Kere has the details. I will bring you shortly the details on the Senate. Now, in a bid to achieve the zero malaria target in Nigeria, the federal government has emphasized the need to move from idealism to pragmatism. A coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Mohammed Ali Pardes, stated these at the ministerial roundtable meeting on rethinking malaria elimination in Nigeria held in Abuja. The meeting was aimed at providing stakeholders the opportunity to assess the current malaria situation in Nigeria, evaluate the effectiveness of existing tools in addressing the malaria scourge and the factors facilitating and mitigating the progress towards the elimination of malaria in Nigeria. And now, Health Statesman Chief Edwin Clark has called on Inspector General of Police Kayode to protect the nation's constitutional right as a matter of national interest by stopping his men from shielding the 27 APC lawmakers from Rivers State. Global Television Anthony Mamodu has the details.
Recall that there is a court ruling on defection from one party to another. According to the court ruling, if an elected politician defects to another party without crisis at the national level, the politician loses his or her seat. Chief Edwin Clark therefore blamed the former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, and his loyalists for the chaos in the state and insisted that the constitution was clear about the fate of the defected lawmakers.
We have seen that your policemen in uniform are being used to beat the Constitution of Nigeria with impunity. You have a duty to arrest the situation. People who have been declared, whose election have been declared null and void, they are no longer there, should not be allowed to disturb the government of elected government.
He also frowned at the lukewarm attitude of state and non-state actors over the brewing crisis in the state, especially the presidency that has put party interest above national interest.
I believe that the Inspector General of Police should advise Mr. President that the interest of one individual and his men should not be taken above the interest of the nation. Otherwise, there will be problem in this country that he will not be able to cope with.
There is no gainsaying that issues of national interest must be upheld and protected by all and sundry, especially those at the helm of affairs for unity and development of the nation. Anthony Momodu reporting for Global Television News.
The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has released a comprehensive strategy to help states and stakeholders better brace for the impact of flooding caused by the rainy season. The agency made the presentation today during its two-day expert meeting with stakeholders in Abuja. Global TV Sharon Ajay has the details.
The strategy on climate-related disaster preparedness and mitigation is a vital aspect of the 2024 seasonal climate prediction by Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, and annual flood outlook of Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency. The Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Zubaida Umar, emphasized the need for all emergency agencies to hold various meetings to further prepare adequately to ward off implications of environmental adverse phenomena.
For all relevant stakeholders to live up to their responsibilities so as to prevent loss of lives and properties that may occur due to the predicted climate-related disasters in 2024. To this end, various emergency sectors, including food security, water sanitation and hygiene, health, nutrition, education, protection, information, emergency shelter and non-food items, camp coordination and camp management, security information and logistics are required to be holding coordination meetings. In the front burner should be preparedness and mitigation measures to be able to effectively respond to adverse climate-related situations that may arise this year.
Director General says the preparedness of the early warning by NIMET and the Nigerian Hydrological Service Agency is to save spaces, materials, and preparedness for prompt response.
Is to be backed by early action so as to mitigate the impact of possible disasters.
Commenting on the movement of displaced persons living in flood-prone areas, the Director General of NIMA, Zubaida Umar, commended state government for measures they have put in place to identify grounds where people can be moved with all basic amenities in a bid to avoid any risks posed by flooding. Sharna J reporting for Global TV News.
The coalition of Niger Delta ex-agitators for good governance has countered the appointment of the Administrator, Presidential Amnesty Program, Dennis Otuari. At a press briefing in Abuja, the group said the announcement was not in favor of Ijaw Nation and Niger Delta at large. Samuel Odi has more details.
The appointment of Administrator Presidential Amnesty Program Dennis Otuari has created a lot of controversy among various groups in the Niger Delta region. The group says the administrator appointment is detrimental to the Ijaw Nation as well as the Niger Delta region.
His appointment is not in the interest of the entire Ijaw Nation and Niger Delta at large due to the following reasons. Number one, his appointment was influenced by an avaricious interest who subverted the struggle as his personal entity at the detriment of the entire Ijaw Nation and Niger Delta at large. Two, the Ijaw Nation is currently enslaved as a result of one personal desperate attempt to seize everything for himself.
The group therefore appealed to the federal government to intervene and ensure that one man's political intrigues does not dominate the entire Niger Delta region. Samuel Odi reporting for Global Television.
The Federal Capital Authority Commission of Police, Bennett Igwe, has commenced the deployment of motorcycles and personnel across the rural areas in the Federal Capital Authority to aid security response operations and efforts against banditry. Igwe says it is the command's continued support and responsiveness to the security and safety of residents, especially those in the rural communities of the nation's capital, where bandits and kidnappers have recently turned to hideout. The Commission of Police says deployment of the motorcycles' painted police colors is made to add swift operational response to communities and areas where vehicles may not easily access or navigate when the need arises. You're watching News Prime here on Global Television. You're on Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platform using @Global TV AG and other handles shown on the screen. When News Prime returns, federal government to ban Naira from crypto trading platforms. These and other stories coming right after this break. So stay with us. One time for to stay with us on News Prime. On the foreign scene, Britain's ruling Conservative brace for further losses in local elections, their worst result in the recent memory, and a key test before a general election to be held by January. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's party lost nearly 500 councillors in control of 12 councils as well as a parliamentary seat after voting Thursday across a swathe of England saw the Labour opposition make huge gains. The Billy Tory leader faces more likely defeat where result of the crunch mayor races in London, Liverpool and Manchester are announced on Saturday, but is hoping to retain the West Midlands. Israel's military has called for the excavation of Palestinians from eastern Rafah ahead of a ground invasion of the city. This is as Gaza head officials said Israeli jets struck two areas where the warning had been issued. The evacuation call followed intensified agreement between Israel and Hamas over the Islamist group's demands to end the 7-month war during the weekend talks in Cairo. Consultations between two other mediators, the United States and Gaza, were expected on Monday in Doha, but state-linked media in Egypt said Negotiations are stalled after a rocket strike killed 4 Israeli soldiers on Sunday. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to send ground troops in against Hamas fighters in Rafah, regardless of any truce and despite concerns from the United States, other countries and aid groups. Now the true talks are now expected to resume in Egypt, aiming at halting month of war in Gaza between Hamas militant and Israel that have triggered widening protests against around the world. Mediators from Qatar, Egypt and United States have been waiting for the Palestinian Islamist movement to respond to a proposal that, according to details released by Britain, will halt fighting for 40 days and exchange hostages for Palestinian prisoners. Month of negotiations stalled in part on Hamas' demand for a lasting ceasefire and Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's repeated vows to crush the group's remaining fighters in Rafah along the Egyptian border in Gaza's far south. And in business news, Nigerians have expressed mixed feelings over power supply by distribution companies despite hike of the electricity tariff. They said the situation has become worrisome and unbearable amid the economic hardship in the country. Rick Michael tells us more.
Like a stubborn helmet that has continued to defy treatment, the Nigerian power sector, which has undergone different level of diagnosis and treatment, appears to be resistant to the adverse of intervention from the public and private sector since the Nigeria attained its independence in 1960. Whatever the situation, the reality today is that many Nigerians do not currently have access to as much power supply as they want. In the Federal Capital Territory, residents react to the current state of power.
The electricity in this area, let me say Nigeria as a whole, the electricity is very, very poor.
I live in Life Camp and we are under Band A, and we have not been experiencing the 20 hours provision that we are supposed to have. So it has been epileptic and really we can't do much. We definitely want government to do something about that to improve the electricity supply, and we will really appreciate that.
It's nothing to write home about. I know in some cities they have a substantial amount of power supply, but if you look at many other places, even in the city here in Abuja, we usually don't have. Sometimes we manage to get light maybe 6 hours a day. Sometimes it doesn't stay, it just come, it goes. And when I was growing up as a baby, and you know, there will be light. So when light goes off and light comes in, you know, we shout, they've brought light, hey, NEPA. Now I'm getting old, I'm coming of age. I don't expect that to still be happening now, especially when you are in Abuja.
It's nothing to really write home about, because I'm surprised that they came up with this banding system where they claim some people will be having power for 20 hours, 16 hours. But as far as I'm concerned, maybe it's just a way of getting some people to pay more. Because for us, in my area, we're in Band B, and we don't even get light for days, and yet you say it's Band B. So for me, I think the interest of the power company is what is being protected.
Based on my experience on how I met the electricity there was very, very bad, really, because they actually don't get light for more than 2 to 3 hours.
My experience our side, I think it's a little bit good, but not like before. As of last year December, we're more like having frequent electricity. I think I can say we had electricity for up to like 15 hours a day last year December, but now it's not as it used to be, though it's just like a minimal decline in the way they give us electricity. But
the residents here at the Federal Capital Territory are calling on the government, particularly the Minister of Power, to hasten the process in restoring power to the darkened area of the city and the country. Edikan Michael reporting for Global TV News.
The Socio-Economic Right and Accountability Project, SERAP, has given 48-hour deadline to the federal government to withdraw the 0.5% cybersecurity levy imposed on Nigerian people. Serap made these known in a statement on its official X handle to react to the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN directive to commercial banks and other financial institutions to start charging cybersecurity levy. The federal government, through the Securities and Exchange Commission, is set to release the Naira from all peer-to-peer crypto platforms as the government set up effort to tackle exchange rate manipulators and dollar racketeers. The development came against the backdrop of the recent move by the federal government to regulate Nigeria's crypto market, estimated at $57 billion. The newly appointed Director General of the Commission, Imochimi Agama, disclosed his government latest plan during a meeting with members of the Nigerian blockchain industry. Agama confirmed that the government was currently drafting a new set of regulations to govern the crypto sector. In pursuit of securing a new $750 million loan from World Bank, the federal government may reintroduce previously suspended telecom tax and other fiscal measures. This is according to stakeholders' engagement plan for Nigeria Accelerating Resource Mobilization Reforms Program between Nigeria and the World Bank. The government might reintroduce the exercise on telecom services and levy on electronic money transfers through the Nigerian banking system, among other taxes. And now the federal government, through the Corporate Affairs Commission, has issued a 2-month registration deadline for the point-of-sales companies to register their agents, merchants and individuals with the Commission in line with legal requirements and the directive of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The agreement was reached during a meeting between fintechs and the Registrar General Ozani Shah in Abuja. According to the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System, there are over 1.9 million POS terminals deployed by merchants and individuals nationwide. Speaking at the meeting, the CSC boss said the measures aim at safeguarding the businesses of fintech customers and strengthening the economy. Experts have called on the federal government to implement policies that would encourage investment in the country's technology ecosystem. They started these at the 3rd edition of the TMT Business Law Breakfast Series 2024, organized by Duale Ovia and Alex Adibo in Lagos recently. The managing partner of Duale Ovia and Alex Adibo noted that investment policies and trade would determine how we'll tech thrive in the country. According to Alex Adebi, Nigeria's ecosystem is doing a great job in attracting global investment, adding that Nigerian-funded tech companies raised more than $2 billion in 2023. He said Nigeria needed good investment and policies to be able to harness its potential. Now, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company NNPC Limited has called an appeal to Nigerians and motorists to shun panic buying of the product. In a statement signed by the Chief Corporate Communications Officer, NNPC Olufemi Soneya, he assured Nigerians that the supply of the premium motor spirit will continue to improve. NNPC stated that it has over 1.5 billion liters stock of PMS, which is equivalent to over 30 days sufficient, adding that it is collaborating with relevant agencies to address hoarding and other unwholesome practices. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission says the international oil companies have proposed 26 oil blocks to be divested into indigenous companies with 8.211 million barrels of oil reserves. The Commission's Chief Executive Benga said these are the industry dialogue in an investment of oil and gas assets in Abuja. They said it has also engaged 2 leading global oil and gas decommissioning consultants who carried out due diligence on the proposed 26 oil blocks to be divested. Let's now turn to Kikolimo Okere for more updates on business news.
Hello and welcome to Business Report on Prime News. The Central Bank of Nigeria has directed the banks to begin charging 0.5% cybersecurity levy on transaction. A circular released by the Apex Bank rules out that the implementation of the levy will begin 2 weeks from the day of its announcement. The circular was directed to all commercial, merchant, non-interest and payment service banks. The circular revealed that it is a follow-up on the earlier letter dated June 25, 2018, in compliance with the Cybercrime Prohibition Prevention Act 2015. and under the provision of Section 44, Section 2A of the Act, a levy of 0.5%, equivalent to 0.5% of all electronic transaction value by the business specified in the second schedule of the Act is to be remitted to the National Cyber Security Fund, which the Office of the National Security Advisor shall administer. The CBN says all banks, financial institutions, and payment service providers are now required to implement the directive. The levy shall be applied at the point of electronic transfer origination, then deducted and remitted by the financial institution. The Debt Management Office has opened the subscription for May FGN saving bond priced at 1,000 per unit. The 2-year saving bond maturing on May 15, 2026 is to be offered at the interest rate of 17.407% per annum. The 3-year saving bond with a maturity date of May 15, 2027 features an interest rate of 18.407% per annum. This interest rate represents the highest ever offered by the DMO on FGN saving bond as the country moves in the direction of a further rate hike. The subscription of this bond began on May 6, 2024 and will continue until May 10, 2024 as per an announcement made by DMO. Nigeria may reinstate a previously suspended telecom tax and other fiscal measures as it seeks to secure a new $750 million loan from the World Bank. This is according to the Stakeholders Engagement Plan for Nigeria Accelerating Resource Mobilization Reform Program, dated March 2024, between Nigeria and World Bank. A copy of the plan's document suggests the government reintroduce exercise on telecom service EMT levy on electronic money transfer through the Nigerian banking system among taxes. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in July 2023 ordered the suspension of 5% excise duty on telecommunication and the import tax adjustment levy on certain vehicles. However, it appears that this suspension may be lifted to meet the program target for a new, yet-to-be-approved World Bank loan. The program development objective is to strengthen the government's financial position by enhancing its capacity to manage and mobilize domestic resources effectively, which include improving tax and custom compliance as well as protecting oil revenues. This week starts on a bearish note in the Nigerian exchange NGX, which posted a 0.89% decline to close today with all share index of 98,703.68 points, marking an 883.57 points decline from last Friday's 99,587.25 points. The decline in the market was driven majorly by the 10% fall in the Airtel Africa share value. However, market breadth was positive as 38 stocks recorded gains in contrast with 18 that recorded losses. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
John Hannibal has more for us on entertainment news.
Burna Boy has become the first African artist to stage the highest-grossing arena concert in America. Citing different data on its X, touring data says Burna Boy beat his 2022 record after he generated $1.593 million or just over 2 billion naira at his TD Garden in Boston on 2nd March, surpassing his numbers at Madison Square Garden in 2022. Similarly, they noted that the singer's I Told Them tour sold out by large margins in Scotiabank Arena, Montreal and Toronto in Canada, Boston in the US, and Cologne in Ghana. But that's not all. Still talking numbers, over 124,706 tickets valued at $93.50 on average were sold at Burna Boy's I Told Them tour. Revenue-wise, $11,659,531, or about 16 billion naira, was released via the ticket sales. Shortly after dropping the highly anticipated video for City Boys, Burna Boy announced his I Told Them tour, produced by Live Nation. The 16 City tour kicked off on 3rd November at BMO Stadium in Los Angeles. It marked Burna Boy's first ever performance in a Los Angeles stadium. He toured other American cities including Houston, Chicago, Toronto, and more before wrapping up in Atlanta at State Farm Arena on March 9th. It's the first Monday in May, and the 2024 Met Gala red carpet officially kicked off. The annual affair is one of the fashion's biggest nights, and celebrities have arrived in some of their very best, boldest, and brightest looks. Held in New York City, the theme, Sleeping Beauty Reawakening Fashion, is positioned to be an exploration of rebirth and renewal that uses nature as a metaphor for the implements of fashion. According to a release from the Metropolitan Museum of Art, in addition to the year's theme, there is also an associated dress code titled The Garden of Time, which is inspired by J.B. Billard's 1962 book of the same name. The literature tells the story of a count and countess who live in a villa that overlook an extraordinary garden being intruded upon by a mob. Now, the time has come, and without further, let's look at what it's all about. Chunk and Amel Joseph reporting for Global TV News.
Out of sports, the Universal Boxing Organization has conferred the prestigious title of Boxer of the Month for April upon Nigerian boxing sensation Rashid Idowu following his remarkable victory in a highly controversial bout in Accra, Ghana. In an official statement addressed to the Nigeria Boxing Board of Control, General Secretary Remy, Vice President David Mazena lauded Idowu's exceptional performance against his Ghanaian opponent Basti Sami, ultimately resulting in a second-round knockout. Chelsea's bid to secure European football for next season has received a major boost following Manchester United's disastrous 4-0 defeat to Crystal Palace. The Eagles' rampant performance at the Selhurst Park extended the unbeaten streak to 5 games and dealt a significant blow to United's Europe League aspirations. The writing was off the wall early for Eric Ten Hag's side as Michael Olise broke the deadlock inside the opening quarter of the hour. 2 more Nigerian relay teams, the men's and the women's 4x100-meter squads, have secured automatic qualification for the Paris Olympics after making the best use of their second chances at the just concluded World Relays in Nassau, Bahamas. The women's 4x100 meters team, led by Nigeria's 200 meters indoor and outdoor record holder Favour Ofili, secured their passage to Paris first. The quartet of Josina Ofili, Olanyika, and Tema Gables displayed impressive teamwork, storming to victory in a time of 42.71 seconds, booking their spot in the 2024 Olympics. Ofili blazed through the second leg, putting Nigeria into a strong position with reigning National Sport Festival double sprint champion Tema, acquiring the team home in first place ahead of Switzerland, who claimed the second automatic ticket in the third qualifying heat. We'll now join Anthony Mohamadu for more updates on sport news.
Fans, welcome to Sports News Update. Let's begin from the World Table Tennis World Championship, where Aruna Quadri will face off with South Korea's Cho Dae-sung in the men's singles round of 16 of the World Table Tennis Saudi Smash 2024 taking place in Jeddah. The Nigerian once again showed character as he came from behind to edge Lee Sang-soo of South Korea 3-2 in 9-11, 9-11, 11-9, 11-7, 11-1, and 11-3 in a round of 32 slugfest at the King Abdullah Sports City Affinity Arena. The nail-biting win set up the potentially scintillating clash with the 21-year-old world number 45, who will be looking to avenge the defeat of his compatriot. Aruna made a flying start to his Saudi Smash campaign by coming from behind to beat Asharat Kamal Chanta 2-3 in a 11-8, 13-8, 8-11, 5-11, 11-13 victory, who won the 2 singles titles at the ITTF Pro Tour, the first in 2010, and reached the semi-finals in the men's singles event at the 2017 World Championship. Isaac Sose scored his first Serie A goal of the season for Udinese, who denied Napoli victory and earned the Friulani a 1-1 draw in their bid to avoid relegation. Success, who was also introduced in the 53rd minute for the Brenner de Silva, took a sublime torture to control Christensen and knocked down a cross at the back post before turning in his strike from 6 yards in additional time of the counter. The goal was Success's first Serie A goal in 379 days. The game was Success's 25th Serie A appearance this season with 1 assist. The strike cancelled out Osimhen's 51st minute opener. Osimhen broke the deadlock for the Partenopi when he ran in between 2 Udinese centre-backs, Wallis and Zaraga, to head in Matteo Politano's delightful cross past his compatriot Maduka Okoye in goal for Udinese. He, however, did not celebrate his goal. Erik ten Hag vowed to battle on as Manchester United manager despite admitting that he hit a low point in a troubled season at Crystal Palace on Monday night. United suffered a club record 13th Premier League defeat as they were hammered 4-0 at the Selhurst Park and have now conceded 81 goals in all competitions, the most since 1977. Ten Hag compared the lack of fight in his team to the spirit shown by their supporters as he branded the woeful performance not good enough by far. Ten Hag insisted that he remains the man to take United forward in the face of the crippling injury crisis. Ten Hag insisted the players are still behind him and refused to blame Casemiro, who had a torrid night from the moment Michael Olise scored the first of his 2 goals. And that's how we call it a wrap on the Sports News Update. I am Anthony Momodu.
Wrap it up, Global News Prime. Let's take a look at the top stories. Federal government to ban Naira from crypto trading platforms. FCT Police Command deploys state motorcycles, personnel to rural communities. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited cautions against panic buying. And in sport, Chelsea's chances boosted after Man U's error at the Palace. And that's the size of News Prime, your global television view on Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using our Global TV NG and all that's shown on the screen. I'm Medican Michael. Many thanks for watching tonight. See you.